When I first started looking at the building's design and meeting with the architects, I suggested that if the desire was to add color to the building, that maybe we could invite an artist who thought a great deal about and had a great deal of experience with not only color but light.
Inviting the artist to this logistic table meant that the art was being considered with the same fundamental level as any other building block was in this project.
I think initially one's first thought is that children like primary colors. They have a very simple approach to color, and I think that's really not the case. I think kids have an incredibly sophisticated color sense. The colors were taken from a Monet painting of wisteria reflected in the pond in Giverny. It occurred to me that if we use natural colors, it would be less sort of frozen in time. You know, often you can sort of look at certain colors on buildings, especially on facades, and you get a sense of when those buildings were made.
There were, I think, 40 or 50 colors that he was able to extract or analyze, and he then distilled it down to 26 colors, which I don't think was a coincidence in terms of the way it aligns up with our alphabet.
I had these sort of color ideas, but those color ideas had to be transferred onto a facade, which is incredibly complex.
We were able to use a little shack-like structure that was on the roof of the parking lot across the street from the construction site to do larger scale mock-ups.
It's one thing looking at the colors in the abstract, and it's another thing to look at them in the context of that environment. It's very unique light in Baltimore, and just to sort of understand what was going to happen with these colors and with this glass. I was interested in certain colors in the facade reflecting and matching the color of the sky. Sometimes there will be this glass and it'll reflect the sky, so you'll see blue, which is very similar to the blue that you'll see in another location in the shadow box, and that was intentional as a way of sort of breaking up the facade. The frit was based on this idea of trying to soften the facade and have it feel a little less austere.
The frit is the first element that identifies a point of reception, this overall frit that creates a sense of a snow globe at your arrival, or a sense of an embrace. It kind of grabs you. It wants you to kind of accept the fact that you have arrived.
We did lots of tests with different frit designs and looked at a lot of frit, and it occurred to me, and I think the whole team sort of moved in this direction, that if there was a sort of handedness, a sort of brushstroke feeling to it, it would feel less institutional.
It went from being a decal, something purely superficial, to something being integral to the material, to the glass.
There was a desire to differentiate between the two towers, to have them be different and yet integrated. That was how I initially hit on the idea of doing something based on the colors reflected in a pond. The idea is that it's all the same pond, but the children's tower reflects different colors, i.e. different flowers and plants than the adult's tower.
He favored the blues, and there are many blues, it's not one blue, in the way he distributed the colors on the children's side of the building, and he favored the greens in the way he distributed the colors on the adult side of the building. The elevator lobbies of the children's center are all blue, and the elevator lobbies of the adult center are all green. And this blue and green color identity or association continues in the signage and some of the other color clues that patients will encounter, because I think to approach such an enormous building, especially for people whose minds are on other things besides architecture and design, we are trying to make it as easy as possible to understand and locate yourself.
The facade itself accentuates and assists by lightening the building, by embracing the light and character of the environment, by reflecting the clouds, by allowing Spencer's color palette to sort of meld into the sky, whether it's the morning or the afternoon or it's dusk or the evening. There's a comfort to it.
It's fairly unusual for an artist to have such a central impact on the physical presentation of an enormous building. And I think that that openness and that kind of collaboration has been very beneficial to the institution and hopefully most important to the community.
What was really important to me, especially with the children's tower, was that it not be intimidating, that to try to take some of the sort of monolithic edge off the building and have it be a little softer and more beautiful. And I think maybe that makes it a little bit easier to go in there.